Australia's longest-serving Prime Minister was a man called Bob Menzies, and he was a man of incredibly powerful intellect and very, very deep learning. And he wrote, fascinatingly, that democracy is not a machine, it's a spirit, in which the peculiar Christian conception that no matter what your station in life is, each of us has a spark of the divine and every soul is of equal value before heaven. Why do I mention that? Partly because I think it's a very relevant point personally, but it's because in the mocking and the ridiculing of that respect for our faith out of the door, we've knocked out one of the pillars of democracy. We've knocked out the idea that whether I agree with you or not doesn't matter. I have to respect you because a higher authority places as much value on you as he does on me. Now it seems that the problem is that if you dare disagree with me, I don't have a reference frame for good and bad anymore or for respecting you. Therefore, I have to insist I'm right. See, I'm God over my life, and you dare to challenge me because you want to be God over yours.
Well, that's the
so
problem.
You're an evil person, or you're a racist, or you're something terrible. We lack a framework for respecting one another, and it seems a massive problem for us.
Well, it's the problem with the collectivist viewpoint. Because if your defining characteristic is that you're a member of a collective, then you live or die by the propriety of the collective. The antidote to that is that strange metaphysical claim, which is that, well, which is fundamentally that we each have a spark of the divine in us. And you think, well, it's easy to be cynical about that, but you shouldn't be, because you act like it's true. And that's worth noticing. It's like if you have friends or family members and you don't treat them like they have profound intrinsic value, then they're not happy with you, right? You can't have a loving relationship without that. You can't have a relationship of reciprocity without that. You can't have a relationship of respect without that. None of it. And they also want you to treat them like they're, in some sense, masters of their own destiny, which is also interesting, right? Because if you have say a 21-year-old child and they're upset with you, they say, well, I'm 21 years old, I'm able to make my own decisions. And you say, and they want you to agree with that, and you want to agree with it because you hope that they are ready to make their own decisions. And you think, well, maybe they have matured to that point. So what are you saying? Well, you're saying that they are gifted with the ability to take the responsibility to shape the reality around them. And they insist upon that. They insist upon you recognizing that in them as a hallmark of respect and love. And you might be irritated because they're not acting responsibly enough to deserve that, but it's still what you hope for and want. It's so like, well, so what is it? We're the sovereign cornerstone of the state, each of us. Are we going to dispute that? Well, we know the cost of that. Okay, well, do we have that spark of divinity? Well, what do we struggle with day to day? We struggle with the potential that's in front of us and transforming that into the reality that could be. That's as close to a divine faculty as anything I can think of. It's completely mysterious that we can wrestle with the fabric of becoming and turn it into the actuality of being. And that we seem to do that as a consequence of our ethical choices, right? You make bad choices, you think they're bad things happen, right? And you think they're bad, and so you took the potential that was there in front of you, and you made something bad of it. You can do that, and you can also do what's good. And we know that of each other, and that's part of the reason that we're granted, let's say, the right and the responsibility of being the cornerstone of the state. And so the idea that there is that divinity in us, I think that's associated with our consciousness, whatever that is. Because consciousness is a mystery. It seems to give reality to being, right? What's being without consciousness? There's no one there to perceive anything. There's no one there to shape anything. It's like, is there anything there? Well, our consciousness itself seems to be what participates in the reality of being and the transformation of potential into actuality, for better or for worse. So there's an ethical domain to it too. It's like there's no reason for us to be questioning this fundamental assumption. unless we think we have a better theory. And what is that? Well, it's your race. It's your power structure. It's like, that's what you want? You want to be judged by collective standards? It doesn't matter what you did. It's in this foreword I wrote for the Solzhenitsyn book. You know, the people who ran the magazine Red Terror, that's a hell of a magazine, Red Terror. They said, well, look, if you're getting rid of the bourgeoisie, you know, don't just be stopping with the people who own businesses. You want to get rid of their children too, because they're infected with the same damn evil spirit. And just to be on the safe side, how about you take out the grandchildren too? 6-year-old, 10-year-old, doesn't matter. Everyone goes. You know, and what happened in the Soviet Union, everyone judged on their collective identity, right? That's how you're going to be judged. I'll find something about your collective identity that's not so positive, right? Some manner in which, regardless of how oppressed you are, you're also an oppressor. You know, for you it might be you're male. Well, that would do it, you know. For you it might be that you're middle class. I can find some dimension of your multiple collective identities on which you're an oppressor. And that's good enough to do you in if you take the collectivist route. And the alternative to that is no. We have that spark of divinity. It's associated with a deep, deep responsibility. And the ability that goes along with that. And we play that out all the time. We play it out every time we play fair games with one another. We have decent, honest relationships with one another. We have business arrangements that are honest and work, and we can cooperate for long periods of time. We take care of our children properly. We take care of our old people properly. It's all predicated on the same thing. You have intrinsic value. And even if you do something terrible, let's say, and I still have the conviction that you have value, then it's incumbent on me to say, well, you did something terrible, but you aren't necessarily something terrible. And it might be possible for you to shed that and to atone and to rejoin those who are good. And that's something too, and that's built deeply into our political and economic and justice systems. And it's no time to be abandoning this. You know, especially when you look around the world, you see as it's spreading, and it's spreading quite rapidly. Everywhere it's spreading, things are getting way better. So enough crisis of confidence in the West. Like, we've got our house to put in order. There's no doubt about that. But I see no reason why we can't do it unless we lose faith in ourselves. And there's reason for that. Like, life is brutal. There's reason to lose faith. But not in the final analysis. It's a mark of malevolence and cowardice to lose faith.
Thank you for watching this episode. We appreciate your support. If you value vital conversations like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel there and also click the notification bell to stay up to date with new releases.